By using Gradio as the UI for our AutoGen project, we can use the microphone to speak to our agents. What is the latest price of Microsoft? What is the latest price of Microsoft? The AutoGen agents, which can be two or more, will get our audio prompt and communicate internally orchestrated by AutoGen to solve our problem and give us back an answer. In this process, the agents may even write code. We can later access the script used by the agent to solve our problem. We can even follow the communication between the agents and the trial and error steps used to reach the goal. This is possible with a new framework called AutoGen from Microsoft. With this framework, you can create multi-agent conversation patterns to solve complex problems where prompt engineering comes to its limit. AutoGen also introduced TeachableAgents, which uses vector databases to remember user teachings. We will cover them as well as functions and group chats in the upcoming videos. AutoGen brings AI development to the next level and can be used with OpenAI or local open source LLMs. This tutorial will showcase a basic implementation of AutoGen, where we have a UserProxyAgent and an AssistentAgent using audio prompts. So let's dive in to implement our first AutoGen solution. In our project folder, create an empty directory for this project and change to the new directory. From inside the folder, start Visual Studio Code. First things first, we create a requirements.txt file and put a list of packages needed for this project. Before installing the packages, we want to create a virtual environment by typing python-m venv and AutoGen as the name of our virtual environment. Then we activate our virtual environment and make sure the name of the virtual environment appears before the prompt, in our case AutoGen. Next, we clear the screen and install the packages listed in requirements.txt. This may take some while. When all of the packages are installed and the prompt comes back, we can clear the terminal and go to the next step to install FFmpeg. FFmpeg is a cross-platform solution to record, convert, and stream audio and video. We download FFmpeg and extract it. After extracting, we rename the folder and move it to a location like our C drive and copy the path. Be careful to copy the location including the bin folder. In my case, cffmpeg bin. Next, we search for system variables and add the location of ffmpeg to the system variable path. To be sure, we open the command prompt and check if the path is set up correctly. The next step is to install Whisper from OpenAI to convert our speech to text. We copy the link and go back to Visual Studio Code and install Whisper. After Whisper is installed, we can proceed to the next step to set up the UI. We use Gradio as the UI to be able to use the microphone of our device as input. To start, we simply copy the getting started code and paste it in a file with the name app.py in Visual Studio Code. We do some reformatting and rename our function to process with the shortcut F2. To test the code, we use the terminal. When we start Gradio, it listens to the port 7860. When we navigate to the localhost port 7860, we see the UI and can enter a text and submit. Sure enough, we get a greeting which shows that our UI works in the simplest form. Back in terminal, we terminate the process with Ctrl C. The next step is to create a .env file and assign our OpenAI key to OpenAI underscore API underscore key. Keep in mind, with AutoGen, you need to have a billing account with OpenAI, or you get regularly a rate limit error. AutoGen is a cost-intensive operation, so be careful and set hard limits to avoid billing surprises. Because of the cost and privacy, we will consider using local open source LLMs, but for now, we simply use ChatGPT to keep this tutorial simple. We change and expand our simple code in app.py. The code should be familiar if you have watched other videos on this channel, but just to recap. We import OpenAI to use Whisper for our speech-to-text functionality. We use OS and .env to be able to store our API keys in .env and load them in our code. We expand the process function to get the file path where our audio is stored, read the audio binary, and transcribe it using Whisper. Finally, we return the text part of the transcript back to the Gradio interface. In the interface, we change the input to an audio component so that we can utilize the microphone. The audio file will be stored on the disk and the path to it will be passed to our process function. Finally, we launch the interface using the terminal and the app listens to port 7860. When we navigate to the port 7860, we notice the input is changed from text to audio, and we can use our microphone to record. What is the latest price of Microsoft? What is the latest price of Microsoft? Whisper does an excellent job of converting our speech to text, and this text will be used as prompt to our AutoGen project. Now we come to the second part of the tutorial, to implement a basic AutoGen solution. Similar to .env, we create a JSON file called OAI config list. In the simplest form, we define a model and our API key, but here you can list multiple models. We will cover them in upcoming tutorials. We can close the file and start integrating the AutoGen functionality in our app. First, we import from AutoGen our two agents, AssistentAgent and UserProxyAgent, and additionally config_list_ from JSON. Then we load the configuration from OAI_config_list to config list, similar to the functionality of .env. Till here, nothing is special, only some preparation. The next step is to create our assistant and pass the configuration. And then create the user proxy. Here we define a directory to store the generated code, and we set the human_input mode to never. So we do not have to confirm the steps in the middle of the agent's conversation. This takes the control from the human and passes it to the agents for more automation, and informs the AI bots that we are only interested in the final result. Now comes the main integration. We get the audio prompt and initiate a conversation between our agents with the audio prompt. The agents will communicate back and forth and write code in the coding folder we defined to solve our problem. When it's done, we can get the chat messages, but we are only interested in the messages of our user proxy agent. So we grab only the content where the role was user and join them in one string with some separator lines. And finally return this string back to the UI. When we start the app and navigate to the local host port 7860, we have the same UI, but this time our audio will be converted to text and used as a prompt to our AutoGen framework. What is the latest price of Apple? What is the latest price of Apple? We can check the communication between the agents in our terminal, and finally the answer comes back to the UI. This part is finished successfully, but the disappointment comes when we start another question. What is the latest price of Microsoft? What is the latest price of Microsoft? This time the agents get too polite and got to an endless loop of thanking each other. Unfortunately, this kindness cost us tokens, and we must at some point cut this act of kindness. Don't worry, the technology is new and there are some configuration to prevent this behavior. But for now, we check the FAQ and see this is a known issue for ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo and a simple solution for that. We add a termination note to our audio prompt and test our app again. What is the latest price of Google? What is the latest price of Google? This time, we get our answer back without any problems. As mentioned, this framework is new and under active development. We will focus more on AutoGen, as it gives us a framework to build an army of bots for our business. Consider AutoGen as the next level of your automation, and this tutorial as a starting point to use it. Good luck.